So am I for a little while. I'm gonna put on my head and my coat and my pants and my boots and my smile. I'm gonna go downtown tonight, all around the town, checking out all the sights. So we'll be back in the morning.
Hello and welcome to At Home in Iowa City with Mayor Regina Bailey.
In this month's episode, my co-host Katie Roch and I are exploring summer arts and cultural activities. We're here at the Englert Theater, where I will interview Mark Ginsberg about Summer of the Arts and Beth Bewley-Randall, the executive director of the Englert Theater.
And I'll be heading out into the field to explore the work of the Public Art Advisory Committee, a City of Iowa City overseeing group that works to create permanent art installations. We'll also be learning a bit more about the Riverside Shakespeare Festival and how the City of Iowa City has partnered with the Riverside Theater to make this festival possible.
So Katie, let's take a look at your video essay on public art, and then I'll be back with our first guest.
Smile, I'm gonna go downtown tonight, all around the town, checking out all the sights. So we'll be back in the morning.
Down here on the corner of Iowa Avenue and Lynn Street with Marcia Klingeman, who is a City of Iowa City employee and oversees the Public Art Advisory Committee. So she had a little something to do with Irving Weber ending up here on this corner. What can you tell us about this statue, Marcia?
Well, I had a little something to do with it, Katie, but basically the brainchild of this whole project was the New Lions Club and wanted to create the sculpture of Irving Weber. So they actually contributed at least half the cost of creating the sculpture, and the Public Art Advisory contributed the other half. Max Cast, artists based in Kelowna, actually created Irving and created the mold and the actual final bronze sculpture.
So this isn't the only public art installation in Iowa City, and the Public Art Advisory Committee, which you oversee,
That's right.
has actually put together this guide, the Glimpse Guide, and the Glimpse Guide is going to show us where everything is in town.
Basically, kind of hopefully a walking tour, at least a hands-on tour guide, so you can go around and actually see the art firsthand.
Wonderful. Well, let's take a look through it. We went out and got some footage of some of these pieces to show people, so let's take a look at some of these.
Sounds good.
So let's talk about some of the pieces on the Ped Mall. I know there's two pieces by Christoph Spath that were installed in 2001, and they're interesting.
Christoph Spath's two sculptures, which are Balance and Solar Marker, are located in what we refer to as the old Black Hawk Square area.
Black Hawk Mini Park?
Black Hawk Mini Park. Christoph's sculptures are the granite and glass, the different colored granite, and has thick panels of glass which are about an inch or so thick in layers in both of the pieces.
Let's talk about the two bronze sculptures on the Ped Mall. We have Jazz by Gary Alsum, and that's kind of a conglomeration of, I kind of look at it as a bunch of different jazz styles.
He was familiar with the fact that Iowa City has a pretty well-known jazz festival, and he wanted to highlight that. And we've got that located up near Clinton Street on the pedestrian mall.
And then Ties That Bind by Jane DeDecker, and that's right by the playground there.
It's a father tying his son or daughters. I don't know that you can necessarily tell
It's very sweet.
a sex on it, but tying your shoe as the soccer ball sits nearby.
I think probably one of the most recognizable public art pieces we have in Iowa City is the Weather Dance Fountain. This one has to do with the dancing water, and I know there's directional markers.
It's very complex, actually, and there's if you go to the fountain, there's what we call a theory plaque. It's located in one of the planting beds to the west of the fountain, and it'll describe to you in detail what the whole thing means. The swirls that occur within the cut granite that's there. There's bronze plaques that are inlaid in various areas, and it'll describe all that to you.
We've got Steel Guard in Nature's Way by David Dahlquist at the Court Street Transportation Building. Now, a lot of people may not realize that this is a public art installation.
Oh, sure. No, and actually, well, Steel Guard is the actual fence that protects the playground area for the daycare that's in the transportation center. Nature's Way, and you need to go inside the building to see this, is probably one of my favorites because it had to do with working with some elementary school children. The point of the project was to develop a wayfinding for the transportation center.
Oh, so where did I park my car? I parked it at the bird, or I
exactly,
parked it
or
at
the butterfly, or the snake, or the spider.
And then we've got Love is Strange by Seth Goddard, who I understand is one of the only students to have been a part of a public art installation.
Seth came up with this design for Love is Strange, which is basically rebar that's bent in the formation of a couple, and then he filled in the rebar with concrete, and we located over at Willow Creek Park, but he had to do it on site. There was no logistic way of moving the thing after he created it because it was
going to be very
concrete,
heavy,
and fragile.
Let's talk a little bit about Wings Return by Will Thompson. That's actually over in my neighborhood, and I love this piece.
It's along Longfellow Trail, which is a small little trail area south of Sheridan, between that and the pedestrian underpass under the railroad tracks. That actually was part of a whole neighborhood art program.
Then there's another piece that has a theme of birds in flight, which is actually called Birds in Flight by Mark Lemaire. And that's at the Sycamore Greenway. What can you tell us about that one?
It is a series of 5 stainless steel birds. Very, very modernistic birds, so you can't necessarily really identify them.
The Benton Hill Archway by Joe Prescher. That was put in 2005, and that's an entryway sign, just an artistic entryway sign to the park. Well, we went out to the Kicker Soccer Park and checked out the Just for Kicks, and my husband plays soccer out there, so I always take a look at that. So that's a pretty obvious choice for out there. It's a fun one.
Well, and we just felt with what Don Mitchell came up with, this design really reflected the liveliness and the feeling of the park.
Marcia, thank you so much for joining us and telling us more about the public art. Is there anything we should know about fun coming up this summer with public art installations?
Actually, there's going to be 2 installations here in the next couple weeks, actually. One is a temporary art sculpture that we're going to be placing on the Iowa Sculptors Showcase pad, which is the one that you see not too far from the fountain downtown. It's just down going north from the pedestrian mall fountain, Weather Dance. That is another art project too. And that is going to be called Tunnel Vision. It's by Aaron Frank. He's a sculpture / metal worker, as he describes himself, from Cedar Rapids, and so that'll be there for a year. And then another major installation is one that we're putting in the recreation center at the Robert A. Lee pool.
And that's a glass piece, right?
It's a glass piece. There's 22 glass panels that have kind of an aquish tint to them that'll be hung from the ceiling, kind of in a wave-like pattern. That's an art piece by B.J. Katz, who's located out of Arizona, Chandler, Arizona. And so we hope to see that in place by June 6th when we have the dedication ceremony scheduled.
Wonderful. Well, we'll make sure to remind everyone about that at the end of the show. Thanks so much.
I'm gonna go downtown tonight.